Africa must unite. Africa must unite. Africa must come together for the liberation agenda to become effective. This has been the message of Pan-Africanism since His Excellency Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, Patrice Lumumba, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Thomas Sankara. All these giants have fought for this idea of Pan-Africanism, which implies Africans must come together, must unite, and through unity they will be able to defeat the forces of imperialism and liberate themselves and emancipate themselves and eventually rebuild Africa as a global power base. And just for your note, this has been the mission of the African Continental Unity Party. But for many decades, or almost a century now, we have hung up to this message of Africa must unite. So the question that I am asking now is, should this be the sole message that Pan-Africanism must continue to portray or to project in the world today, or there should be a different objective that Pan-Africanism must champion as we're speaking right now? And the reason why I'm asking this is because this revolution is scientific revolution. And by scientific, I'm trying to mean that it's a revolution based on knowledge, analysis of history of the present, and understanding or anticipation of the future. In other words, I'm trying to say that anything that you do, any agenda that you come up with, your enemy will try to invent the methods or the means to defeat that agenda of yours. So that means your revolution must be scientific, which means it must be based on the knowledge. By the fact that you have to study to understand your enemy, to study his move and upgrade your strategy and bring some new strategies and come with the new innovative ways to make sure that you succeed with your revolution, because your enemy does the same thing to counteract you. And actually, Sun Tzu put it beautifully by saying that if you know your enemy and you know yourself, victory is guaranteed. If you know your enemy and you don't know yourself, you have 50% chance of winning or victory or defeat. And if you don't know your enemy and you don't know yourself, failure or defeat is guaranteed. So in this context, for the unity that we're talking about to succeed, what we have to do is to keep on upgrading our knowledge, understanding the enemy, understanding his strategies, his tools, his methods, and understanding ourselves, getting to know our own strength, our weakness, and viewing or scanning the environment in which we are living to see the opportunities or threats that are present. And the combination of all these things will give us the opportunity to succeed with our revolutionary agenda. So coming back to the point, I think that Pan-Africanism today should not hang up to the message or to the preaching of the message of unity, simply because that message has been properly understood by the enemy, and he has put in place the method and the techniques to defeat any agenda of unity based on a simplistic way of just preaching unity. So the point is, Pan-Africanism today must find a kind of contemporary objective which has to compensate the unity which has been preached by so many people. I named Kwame Nkrumah, Lumumba, and all these people. We're talking about Africa must unite. But why are we not united today? I mean, what is making it difficult for us to unite? Simply because the enemy has implemented his own strategy to prevent the unity from taking place. So I think Pan-Africanism must find the gap between the preaching of Pan-Africanism and the lack of implementation of Pan-Africanism on the continent. And that gap is what I call the consciousness of unity. You know, the knowledge of unity has been preached all over the continent and in diaspora. Everyone knows that unity is power. Even animals know that unity is power. Female monkeys will come together to fight a male monkey who is trying to monopolize the food. You know, even the enemy Even the United States, the French, even the United States, France, and all these traditional enemies of African unity, they know that unity is power. The clearest example that we have today is in Iran, where you have the United States, instead of attacking Iran by itself, even though it has the capabilities, it had to link up to unite with Israel so that they could be effective in attacking Iran. So if powerful nations, powerful people, and powerful institutions understand the power of unity, the power of synergy, the power of network, how much more us weak people and poor people have to understand that same message. But what has been preventing us to implement that message is the lack of consciousness of unity. So the message that Pan-Africanism, even not the message, the task that Pan-Africanism must tackle right now is the task of creating the consciousness of unity among African people. Knowledge is not enough because knowledge has been there, but we don't see the results. So what is lacking is the consciousness of unity. It's one thing to know that something is good or something is bad, but it's a different thing to have the consciousness of what is good or what is bad, or to be actually experiencing it. So the typical example that I can give is the example of drivers. People who drive, they know that when you drive, you shouldn't text because it's dangerous. But many people find themselves involved in accidents simply because they were driving and texting, lack of consciousness of the danger, and suddenly they find themselves involved in an accident. So knowing something is not enough, but cultivating the consciousness of that knowledge is what is most important, and that is what is lacking in Africa right now. And this should be the task of Pan-Africanists all across the continent and in the diaspora. We shouldn't limit ourselves at preaching that unity is power, as organizing conferences and telling people about how unity is beautiful, but we should push it further to go about cultivating the consciousness of unity. And this can be done through works, community work. It cannot be achieved by preaching only. It has to be done by community activities. That is where people are able to cultivate consciousness of unity. People have to find themselves in a situation where they are united. They are among other people doing things together and seeing the resulting or receiving the results of their collective works. And this creates the consciousness and get people to mature the idea that for us to live better, we have to find allies and to unite and do things together. That's what I call the consciousness of unity. And it can begin with the kids. Example is that when we study, this is one of the biggest problems with the education system that we have and we're still using. Though we like the idea of unity, our head of states talk about unity, but we're still maintaining an educational system that projects individualism, whereby when you study together, but on the exam, everyone is for himself. Why can't we do exams in group? Share ideas, share experience, and then be examined as a group of people. Why do we need to see who is the first and who is the last in the class? So I think this is still a typical mindset of Western system, and we cannot develop unity if the institution of education are not structured in a way that promotes the unity, the synergy, the interconnectedness, and a network among African people. In one word, what I'm trying to say is that Pan-Africanism today has a different agenda from the agenda that Kwame Nkrumah had. They had an agenda of preaching unity, of letting Africans who were coming out of colonialism, that for you to emancipate yourself, you have to unite. But today, we can notice the shortcoming of that message, which means we have to go a step further to only not preach about unity, but to create the consciousness of unity among ourselves. And this can only be done through community activities. So, if you are an African, if you are a Pan-Africanist, the question that I'm asking yourself, what is your network? What is the community in which you are involved? Are you only a Pan-Africanist of network, of Facebook, of Instagram, of TikTok to preach about unity, or you are actively engaged in a community activism whereby you're trying to tackle the local issues that you have in a community to try to change them, because that's how people gain power and create the consciousness of unity, which can take them even far to tackle some more major issues that the government is unable to tackle right now for us. So I hope this message was an encouragement to you and useful to you. If it is, please kindly share the video, like the video, subscribe to our channel to encourage us. Peace and love, freedom and decolonization to all African people, those at home, those abroad, and those in the future. If you have two shoes, please sell one and buy a sword, because now it is time for revolution. And this revolution is not on the streets, it is in the mind. Because if you are not in charge of our mind, the enemy will use us as a tools for oppression and enslavement of our people. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.